But on the other hand, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial continues in the High Court in Pretoria today. The former Orlando Pirates and Bafana Bafana captain was shot and killed in 2014. Advocate Zandile Mshololo will begin her cross-examination of surgeon Thabo Mosia. Mosia was the first forensic officer to arrive at the scene to collect evidence. But just last week, the handling of the police's crime scene investigation came under the spotlight. And eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu is following that story and joins me now to give us, of course, some context. Manqoba, a very warm good morning to you, colleague. Before we look into what's expected today, let's look back into the week that was. What came out from court?
Well, Dumela, I think the crucial evidence that came out of court last week was around the police handling of the Senzo Meyiwa crime scene. And we heard from Warrant Officer Thabo Mosia, who was the first forensic officer to arrive at the scene just moments after Senzo Meyiwa had been killed. In fact, he revealed in court, Dumelo, as to what happened on that day. He says that he was only informed 4 hours after this incident had occurred, and when he was informed, he was not given the address as to where he should go, where this crime scene had happened. And this meant that he then had to go to the Vosloorus police station to try and ascertain exactly where this incident had occurred. And it's only around about 12 on the 27th of October, in the early hours of the 27th of October, that he eventually got to the crime scene. And of course, this raises quite a number of questions as to whether there was any possible contamination of the crime scene. Of course, we know from the evidence that we've heard in court and some of the statements that were read in court that seem to suggest that one of the neighbors, Maggie Piri, had gone into the house and had in fact cleaned some of the cans, the alcohol cans that were found inside the Khumalo home. And this was during the time when those that were inside the house were at the hospital, where they'd taken Senzo Meyiwa to that hospital. And from the statement that was read in court, Maggie Piri saying that she had wanted to remove those cans so that the police would not see that the people inside the house had been drinking at that particular time. But according to what we also heard is that when Thabo Mosia arrived at this particular homestead, he says that he did not see the bullet projectile. He only saw this bullet projectile the next day when he returned to the crime scene. And of course, what the defense has been contending as far as this is concerned is that the crime scene may have been compromised, and that there were people that had come inside the house while the crime scene had not been secured. Of course, we also heard evidence from another police officer who testified as to the effect that when they arrived at the crime scene, they had arrived there, they did not secure the crime scene, and they had then gone to the hospitals and had come back almost 2 hours later to the crime scene. So this leaves the crime scene unattended. And of course, we're expecting the defense to continue grilling Mosia about whether or not the crime scene could have been compromised. But I think also crucial, what emerged in court last week was around some of the procedures that police themselves had followed during that investigation, whether or not some of the swabs were done on some of the doors. You recall that according to the evidence of Thabo Mosia, he did not swab 2 of the doors. The kitchen door, which is crucial because this is where the intruders had come into that particular door. They'd also left through that particular door. But also a question was raised by the lawyer representing accused number 4, Zitulele Ngumalo, as to whether the swabs were done for DNA samples on the door that is opposite the bathroom. You recall, Tumelo, that this is the very door that Tumelo Madlala had gone into. When the 2 intruders had come into the house, he managed to run into that bedroom, and we understand that one of the intruders had tried to chase after him. So he admitted in court that he did not swab these 2 crucial pieces of evidence, and the reason that he had given to court is that he says there were many people in the house, and possibly many of them could have handled these particular doors, and so he didn't see it fit to then conduct any swabs on those doors. But also, I think another crucial aspect was around the investigation itself, saying that his investigation had focused primarily on those perpetrators and not the people inside the house. And this is the reason why, and I think it's also another crucial part of cross-examination as to why those that were inside the house were not swabbed for gunpowder residue. He admitted in court that that was not done because his investigation had solely focused on those that were, the perpetrators that had come into the house. And of course, we're expecting the defense to continue pressing him as far as the handling of the police investigation is concerned on this issue. And we understand, I have spoken to the advocate, Zithulele Nxumalo, who represents accused number 4, who did indicate that he is in fact going to ask to reopen his cross-examination. There's still quite a number of issues that he'll want to iron out before handing over to Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who is expected to continue with cross-examination today. So expecting those proceedings to begin at 10 this morning, Dumelo, with cross-examination expected to continue.
Oh, thank you so much, Manqoba Mchunu. We'll be sure to have our visuals live inside court as court commences, expected at 10 o'clock. That's the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial with, of course, my colleague, eNCA reporter Manqoba Mchunu.